former Queensland Premier, and, of course, a very famous Lord Mayor of Brisbane, Campbell Newman. Campbell, I talked to you during the week on Credland. We spoke about Opposition leader David Crisafulli's opposition to nuclear power. Since then, the pressure mounting from his federal counterparts to join the party. You've got LNP MP Colin Boyce pulling no punches. Here's what he had to say.
I think you'll find he'll backpedal on that. He had to backpedal on the Great Artesian Basin issue. He had to backpedal on the treaty issue. He had to backpedal on the voice issue. Ultimately, he will backpedal on the nuclear issue as well, because they simply do not have an energy plan.
Seems that Mr Crisafulli might be representing Australia in backflips this year, Campbell.
Well, it is an Olympic year, mate, and I think Colin Boyce, the federal member for Flynn and former state member for Callide, has called it in his normal, fairly blunt terms. A farmer, a boilermaker. I'm just with some trade qualifications. I mean, this is a guy who I greatly respect, who calls a spade a spade. He really does. And the point is here that he's particularly making, which is so accurate, and it's really critical. If Crisafulli supports zero emissions, then that's about renewables and it requires storage. But he's not supporting the Labor Party's significant, and I've got to say they are significant, whether they pull them off or not remains to be seen, but they're significant pumped hydro storages. But Crisafulli won't support that. So if he doesn't support nuclear, what Boyce is saying quite accurately is he does not have a viable, credible energy supply or electricity supply plan for Queenslanders. That's wrong. So really, again, we need him to really think again. And what he should be doing, we talked about this the other night, is that he just simply had to say, if Peter Dutton gets elected on the basis of this quite courageous and brave policy, then of course I'm going to back him. And, Boyce is right as well. I don't think Crisafulli and the state LNP team understand the level of support that's actually out there in Queensland for nuclear.
Well, Queensland's an energy powerhouse. I mean, Queensland prides itself on the fact that it's up to Queensland to pump juice down south to keep the states down there that are so scared of everything going, because Queensland's got all the resources. We've
been doing that this week and the last week in the colder weather. Energy has been flowing south, supporting the national grid from the coal-fired power plants in Queensland. Similarly, and just alluding to your previous interview, gas has been going south from the gas fields of Queensland to support homes and industry in New South Wales and Victoria. And what's critically important there is we've had state administrations in Victoria and New South Wales who haven't wanted to go after their own gas. These things always come home to roost eventually, mate.
You and I have been around a reasonably long time. Did you ever think in your life, Campbell Newman, that you would see the level of anti-Semitism that we're seeing in Australia at the moment? I went down the street from where I stay when I'm in Melbourne yesterday, and the whole street on every power pole and surface were these anti-Jewish stickers, which had the Star of David, the Israeli flag, and a red line through it, talk of killing babies. Today, when I walked down that street, someone had gone to the bother of actually making one of these stickers into a hard Perspex piece of board and screwed it into an old wooden power pole. I mean, I never thought I'd see this ever in my life.
No, it's just very, very un-Australian. And we saw scenes of the MP's office being targeted. Now we've seen Trades Hall in Melbourne targeted in a very systematic way. I just wish the authorities around the country, but particularly in Victoria, would take a hard line on this. We hear that in Victoria the police are just saying, oh, well, local detectives will handle it. No, I totally disagree with that. This needs to be treated as not just some act of random vandalism. It needs to be treated as a systematic campaign of intimidation and harassment against the Jewish community. If it's treated like that, And if we put the resources in and go after these people, expose them and let them know their vandalism isn't going to just be treated with a slap on the wrist, but say, 30 to 90 days in the slammer, that would actually draw a line in the sand and perhaps get things under control.